Welcome back to the deep dive. You've handed us a stack of sources this week that looks, it's less like a weekly digest and more like a fever dream of global InfoSec intelligence.
It really is.
A true mashup of costly breaches, geopolitical conflict, and some pretty terrifying zero days, all from just a single frantic week in late 2025.
It's the most dense intelligence packet we've seen our quarter, and that density is the whole point.
Right.
Our mission today is to give you the shortcut. We're not just going to list incidents, we're synthesizing them. We need to find the signal in all this noise.
What are the threat actors and governments actually prioritizing right now?
Exactly. What are their evolving priorities?
And we're going to show how an operational shutdown at a massive car factory is, believe it or not, connected to a really nuanced legal decision in the U.S.
And how nation-states are now using, everyday consumer chat apps to run espionage campaigns that last for years.
So if you need to quickly grasp the interconnected nature of global cyber risk, stick with us. Let's start where the pain is most visible, which is the bottom line. The sources make it so clear that a cyber attack is now fundamentally a form of operational shutdown. We have to talk about the Jaguar Land Rover incident.
So JLR is the perfect case study. It's the ideal example of, a physical disruption coming from a digital breach.
So who was behind it?
The attack was attributed to a group called Scattered Lapsus Hunters, and they didn't just steal some data. They brought assembly lines in multiple countries to a screeching halt.
A full production pause.
A prolonged one. And the financial tally alone was just staggering. The attack cost JLR about $260 million.
Wow, 9 figures.
9 figures because they couldn't make cars.
That's fascinating because it really shifts the focus from, just data loss, which is obviously bad,
Right.
to manufacturing capacity loss, which is immediate and absolutely crippling. But that's a direct hit on a huge company. The sources also really emphasize the systemic risk.
Yes, the third-party vulnerability, the supply chain cascade.
Right.
Think of it this way. Your security is only as good as the weakest vendor you connect to.
And the Gainsight breach is the poster child for that.
It is the epitome of that risk. Gainsight is a software vendor. Hundreds of large companies use them, especially companies on Salesforce infrastructure. So when that one vendor was compromised,
It just cascaded.
the hackers managed to expose data across over 200 separate Salesforce instances.
And Google confirmed it, right. They said hackers stole data from 200 different companies just from that one intrusion.
And this is the same group, they're linked to earlier attacks on SalesLoft and Drift. They clearly get how to hit these centralized hubs of shared software.
And this is where the legal and policy context gets so critical.
It really does.
You've got companies losing $260 million, and at the same time, regulators are trying to figure out how much liability to put on security leaders.
Which brings us to the SEC's decision to drop its case against SolarWinds and its CISO.
Over the 2020 Sunburst breach, yeah. SolarWinds has called it a vindication. But what does that really mean for, say, a security executive listening right now? How does that change their day?
It's a massive policy shift. It's an attempt to solve what the industry calls disclosure chills.
Disclosure chills.
Yeah. For years, CISOs were terrified they could face personal prosecution if they didn't disclose a breach perfectly, or if regulators thought they missed a threat.
So they might hesitate to report things quickly.
Exactly, for fear of being held personally liable. The SEC dropping this case, in essence, is saying, we want fast, transparent disclosure more than we want to prosecute an individual for missing a highly sophisticated state-sponsored attack.
So the idea is, by reducing that personal liability threat, the industry gets faster, better data sharing, which helps everyone defend themselves against the next Gainsight-style attack.
That's the theory. It's an attempt to incentivize transparency, recognizing that some of these breaches, they aren't really preventable, but the response has to be rapid and collaborative.
And while these macro battles are playing out, the everyday incidents just keep piling up.
Oh, constantly.
The Italian IT firm Almaviva had, 2.3 terabytes of internal data stolen and leaked on the dark web?
And this was the sensitive stuff contracts, HR records, accounting files, all tied to FS Italian. It's a gold mine for corporate espionage.
And then in France, the Pagemploy service, a huge personal data risk.
Up to 1.2 million people potentially exposed. We're talking names, addresses, social security numbers.
They did say no bank account numbers or passwords, thankfully.
Which is good, but that amount of PII is still a massive accelerant for future identity theft.
And one last quick note here, just to ground us, the Cloudflare outage.
Right, which wasn't a hack.
Not a hack at all.
Yeah.
It was a bug in their bot mitigation service after a routine config change. It's just a vital reminder that operational complexity, even without a hacker, is a huge risk factor for disruption. Okay, let's shift gears now from the economics of all this to the high-stakes strategic conflicts. If the JLR attack was criminal, this next section is all about statecraft and influence.
It is. And the sources show the world's top intelligence agencies coordinating to dismantle the sort of essential infrastructure of cybercrime.
Right, the joint action from the Five Eyes nations.
And the Netherlands. They sanctioned 2 key bulletproof hosting providers.
Okay, let's clarify that term. What exactly is a bulletproof hosting provider, and why is sanctioning them such a big deal?
So it's basically a server provider that either looks the other way or actively caters to criminals. Ransomware, phishing, botnets.
They're bulletproof because they just ignore abuse reports.
Precisely. They let their clients operate with total anonymity and resilience. So by sanctioning them, in this case, Russia-based Medialand and parties tied to the ASA group, you're hitting their logistics. You're choking off the resources they need.
So that's a direct attack on their command structure. But then you look at state-sponsored espionage, and the tactics get so much more subtle, so much more long-term.
And that brings us to the Iranian state-linked group, AP-242, also known as Spear Spectre.
What are they up to?
Well, APT-42 is masterful at social engineering. They run these multi-year campaigns targeting senior defense and government officials.
And it's not just a bad email, is it?
No, it's highly tailored. Sometimes they target relatives to build trust, luring victims to fake sites designed to install their custom malware. It's called the TameCat backdoor.
This is where the technical detail gets, just chilling. TameCat uses Telegram and Discord for its command and control.
It does, for its C2 communication.
So, why? Why would a sophisticated state actor use consumer chat apps for top-tier espionage?
Because it's the perfect way to blend in. Standard network security looks for encrypted traffic going to suspicious, known bad IPs. But when your malware's C2 just looks like an official chatting with his kid on Discord or sending a photo on Telegram,
it looks completely ordinary.
It looks ordinary. The malicious activity is perfectly disguised as routine consumer behavior, making it incredibly hard for automated systems to flag.
And speaking of blending in, the UK's MI5 issued a clear warning to members of parliament about China.
Yes, very similar influence operations, specifically using LinkedIn and fake recruiters for long-term intelligence gathering.
And it's not just digital?
No, the threat goes beyond that. British troops were specifically warned not to discuss sensitive matters inside official vehicles.
Amid fears that China is eavesdropping on the move.
Exactly. When you have to worry about the security of your car, that just shows you the level of pervasive risk we're dealing with.
This whole dynamic sets the stage for major policy battles, especially around privacy and security. The sources really highlighted the pressure on encryption.
It's the constant tug of war, isn't it? We saw over 60 trade and tech groups urging governments to maintain strong end-to-end encryption.
Their argument being that backdoors for law enforcement create more problems than they solve.
Fundamentally, yes. That weakening encryption would create a bigger attack surface for malicious actors, harming everyone's security and privacy.
Meanwhile, in the U.S., there are questions about the stability of our own cyber defenses.
Yeah, Senator Mark Warner warned that politically driven firings and budget cuts at CISA have weakened U.S. defenses,
leaving critical infrastructure and elections more vulnerable. That's a self-inflicted wound while all these external threats are peaking.
It is. And you see companies fighting for their very business models over these policy clashes. NSO Group asked a court to pause an injunction, barring it from targeting WhatsApp,
claiming it would destroy their Pegasus business.
Right. It just shows how quickly legal action can dismantle these highly specialized tech companies.
Now, finally, a really fascinating ethical stand from Mozilla.
Yes, ending its partnership with OneUp and shutting down their Monitor Plus service. It came out that OneUp's founder ran a lot of people's search sites and still owned a data broker. Mozilla basically drew a line in the sand, saying they can't partner with a company whose leadership profits from the very problem they claim to be solving.
Okay, let's unpack the most urgent technical threats. What the sources are showing us is that the timeline between a vulnerability existing and it being weaponized is, well, it's effectively zero now.
That's the exploit gap. The window where an attacker knows about a flaw but the defender doesn't.
And the big one here is the Fortinet FortiWeb flaw.
A critical one. And it was actively exploited before Fortinet even publicly disclosed it or assigned a CVE number.
So defenders were playing catch-up from the absolute beginning.
Completely. Defending against a ghost. The delayed communication gave attackers a free run at gaining administrative access. It's a persistent, deadly problem.
And it's not the only one. We also saw active exploitation of the new 7-zip vulnerability.
CVE 2025-11001.
7-zip is a utility almost every organization uses.
Yeah.
Can you break down why this one is so dangerous, especially for someone who isn't super technical?
Sure. It's a trick that uses something called symbolic links. So imagine a mailman delivering a ZIP file package to your office. A symbolic link is like a rigged forwarding address inside that package.
Okay.
It tells the mailman, hey, deliver this specific file not to the intended folder, but instead, let's say, to the CEO's administrative filing cabinet.
So it lets you write a file somewhere you're not supposed to.
Exactly. If 7-zip is running with high privileges, an attacker can use this rigged pointer to overwrite crucial system files. It's an internal bypass that gets around standard folder permissions.
That makes it much clearer. And malware developers are getting stealthier too.
Absolutely. Take bad audio. This is malware from the China-linked APT24 used in a 3-year espionage campaign.
How does it spread?
Spear phishing, tainted JavaScript libraries. It's heavily obfuscated, meaning it's very hidden, and uses advanced techniques like DLL hijacking to trick legitimate programs into loading its malicious code.
But the most shocking development, I think, in terms of privacy invasion has to be this new Android banking Trojan, Sternus.
This is a truly chilling development. It's a Trojan that specifically targets users of end-to-end encrypted apps.
So WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal.
The very apps we've been told for years are safe because the communication is encrypted.
But Sternus doesn't actually break the encryption, does it? It found a much simpler, just devastating workaround.
It doesn't need to break the math. It just uses Android's accessibility features.
The tool's meant to help visually impaired users.
Right. It waits for the legitimate app to decrypt the message and show it on the screen to the user, and then Sternus just reads the screen. It captures messages, one-time passwords, everything, in real time.
It bypasses the encryption layer by targeting the presentation layer.
Exactly. It's a nightmare scenario. Perfect encryption is meaningless if the operating system itself is compromised.
And phishing is keeping pace.
Oh, yeah. We're seeing phishing kits like Sneaky2FA become nearly perfect copies of the real thing. They use these sophisticated browser-in-the-browser pop-ups.
So it looks exactly like a real Microsoft login page.
Indistinguishable. The visual trickery is so good that these kits might even be able to bypass newer defenses like passkeys by sort of forcing a security downgrade.
Okay, here's where we shift to the future. The age of autonomous offense. The warnings and the sources about AI they're dire.
The warnings from industry leaders are blunt. Microsoft itself warned that its new Copilot Actions AI can infect machines and steal data.
And it was released before a full security risk assessment was done.
Which security experts were rightly very critical of. It perfectly illustrates this tension between the push for rapid innovation and, basic security due diligence.
And we're seeing this in the wild now. IBM reported observing an AI-assisted cyber attack that was estimated to be 90% autonomous.
90%. Think about that. We are witnessing a monumental leap from a human operator guiding an attack to an AI system largely running itself, adapting and exploiting targets without constant human intervention.
The speed and scale of that is it's hard to grasp.
It's monumental.
Yeah.
And finally, just to underscore the raw power threat actors already have, we had confirmation of that huge Isaru IoT botnet.
Adidas attack on Azure.
A record-breaking 15.72 terabits per second DDoS attack, all from over 500,000 compromised IPs, routers, cameras. It just proves that basic IoT device hygiene remains a massive, critical vulnerability.
What a week. I mean, you've covered everything from $260 million in operational damage to autonomous AI threats and geopolitical skirmishes using Discord as a C2 channel. So when we synthesize this entire stack of intelligence, what does this all mean for you, the listener?
The core takeaway is adaptation, both the rapid speed of the threat actor's adaptation and the urgent need for defenders to match it.
The evidence seems overwhelming.
It is. 0 days are exploited before they're even assigned a CVE. Highly sophisticated malware like Sternus instantly circumvents decades of encryption development by just reading the screen. The threat landscape isn't just getting wider, it's getting faster.
The time a defender has to react is shrinking to almost nothing.
That's the challenge. That rapid autonomous evolution is the greatest challenge facing security today.
It really is.
And I want to leave you with a provocative thought. It's drawn from the source material, which referenced an observation about the 1911 theft of the Mona Lisa. The thief succeeded because his actions appeared ordinary to the guards.
He just blended in with routine activity.
Slipped right past notice. So, if human psychology lets us miss what looked ordinary, and AI detection systems are also trained to filter out that ordinary noise,
We have to ask,
how much of our routine digital life today, using Telegram for sensitive information, accepting pop-ups that seem identical to legitimate login pages, is creating the perfect invisible cover for the next generation of 90% autonomous AI-driven cyber attacks?
what digital behaviors are you overlooking just because they seem safe, mundane, or perfectly routine?